Hello, everybody. It's 12 o'clock. It's midday. It's Friday, which means one thing only. It's Wow Ergonomics with me, Graham Coe, but not with Steve today because Steve's over in Le Hollande, which is not how you say Holland, putting, and I said in the blurb, putting money into the meter, and he came back and said, no, I'm not. Which I thought, oh,
Cheers.
you're not gonna go with it. Okay, he's busy over there having very important meetings with very important people about very important ergonomic things. So, Steve, if you get to listen or you are listening, he's probably good. They're all
Hello.
in the office now in Holland, going, "What are they doing?" Then, hi. Hope you're well. I do love Holland. Have you ever been?
I've never been to Holland. No,
Mm.
no, never been.
This-
Is that Amsterdam? Amsterdam is Holland.
Amsterdam is Holland. This is Katie, by the way.
Yeah.
Please do introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie. I am the. Oh my God! Do you know what? I don't even know what to refer to myself. Freelancer, business owner, founder. All of them things of social magic, and I do various other things as well, like being a mum and living in a caravan.
We will definitely talk about living in the caravan and all of that stuff in a minute. But there you go. So Holland's lovely because the customer service in Holland is second to none. Absolutely second to none. I remember going over there on a. Oh, here we go. Yeah, what's woken you up?
Dog wants to get involved.
Yeah, he wants to get involved. I'll just let's get him involved. Okay, let's say hello to the dog.
Yes. Let's do that.
No.
I feel like I'm holding the show right now.
I want to say hello to everyone. Hello, this is Trooper the dog. He's not been very well lately.
Oh no.
He's waiting for an MRI scan on his back, aren't you?
Oh no.
Yes. Which is making you a little bit grumpy. But as it's nearly Christmas, I don't mind interrupting the show for a little bit of Trooper time.
Definitely. Get him involved. This is what people will love the most. Yeah.
There we go. That's enough of it.
This is why people are here. They're not here for me. They're here for the dog.
She'll leave him barking to his heart's content at the postman, who he's probably eating now. Their customer service in Holland, I will get round to telling the story, is second to none. And the reason being, I don't know, but I went over there to see a factory visit over there one time, and went out into Zwolle, which is part of Holland up in the north, and can remember sort of going into the shop and just the attentiveness of the people in the shop, and and then they gift wrapped everything, even though it was just a small gift, and they were just really interested, and which kind of beats. And I'm not saying you get this everywhere in the UK, but kind of beats like, do you want a bag?
Yeah, it's 10p. It's 10p as well, so you've got to really consider this, whether you want a bag or not. That's about as much as you're going to get over here.
One of the worst things that ever happened in a shop. Sorry, listeners, by the way, we will get back on to sort of well-being and ergonomics and all of that in a bit. But one of the worst things that ever happened in the shop, from my experience, was going into a shop and one of the young people behind the counter said, "Sorry, my bad." Right, which I know is a saying, but people just shouldn't say that. If you're serving in the shop, don't say "sorry, my bad." Right?
Yeah. What for? Did you just say this randomly? Or?
Well, it was because something had been put in the wrong place by this person, etc., or been misscanned by this person. My wife pointed it out, and they just went, "Sorry, my bad." Red rag to bull.
Thanks.
Just say it properly. If you're going to apologise, apologise in proper English. just think
Definitely. Yeah, it's not hard, is it? It's not hard. And it really does make all the difference if you just add a little context to it and say it in a more meaningful way, even if you don't truly mean it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Sorry if you can still hear the dog barking. Apparently that
It's okay.
will subside. I'm in a house fully on my own today, and that's part of the problem, which is normally there would be someone to take him away and put him somewhere in a safe place. But today I'm completely on my own, which is nice actually to have the house to myself.
Yeah.
But it does mean that he's just gone a bit chaotic. Katie, tell us a little bit about what you do while I just go and sort the dog.
I could just sit here in silence now, and I wonder if anyone would know. But anyway, no, I won't. It just feels a little bit weird. So I work on LinkedIn. I used to do personal brands and all that good stuff. So in terms of the content and the community building for personal brands, but I am steering a little bit away from personal branding now and focusing on company brands on LinkedIn, because the amount of company brands on LinkedIn that are doing it craply, I'm not even sure that's a word, but I'm going to go with it.
Badly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have just said badly, couldn't I? Yeah, so I'm sick of that whole narrative, because I know personal brands are so important. They're so important, especially for people who are like me, who are right at the beginning, who don't really have an established business. So it's more about establishing myself. But for bigger businesses, multi six-figure businesses who have been in business for quite a few years now, who are getting that established status, they need to be on LinkedIn, and they need to be more than a personal brand. They can't just have a company page that just dictates about what they do and why they're so good, because nobody gives a shit. And it just doesn't show that you care at all about the people who you are potentially going to work with. If people stumble upon your company page and it just says what you do and why you're good at it, yes, to a point that is marketing, that's good, obviously, but you're not getting to know your audience, your customers. You haven't got a community, and that it puts me off, and I know it does for a lot of other people as well.
Yeah. At what point, from your perspective, at what point does the transition happen between personal brand and company brand? Should they be developing together all of the time? But there is a transition point where the focus has to move from one to the other.
Yeah.
And is there a case where actually the personal brand and the company brand merge? I mean, I'm thinking of things like, Stephen Bartlett. Stephen Bartlett
Yes.
is a personal brand, but he's also now the business brand. Yeah.
Yes, yep, definitely. They should always work in tangent with each other. So the business brand in itself, we know that people are loving the personal side. That's why people love the personal brand. People buy from people, the human connection, we know that. But what if business brands can actually incorporate that as well? And they can actually talk about their team and talk about their challenges and talk about actually the authenticity of the behind the scenes at the business. So you're bringing the personal into the business, but also the personal can talk about the business as well. Still, they do go in tangent for me. So I say, whenever I work with somebody, I can't work with you if you're not going to do anything on your personal brand, because they feed into one another, especially with LinkedIn. Obviously, you cannot connect with people from a business page. You need a personal page to be connecting with people, to be talking to people. So for me, they go hand in hand.
What's the biggest mistake that you see larger organizations, and we're not talking like the big organizations, because they've got
Yes.
teams of marketing people
Yeah.
and they're doing it pretty well, really.
Absolutely.
Just to give an example of that, I've just had the dog was barking at the post. There you are. I'm going to bring the dog into it.
Yes, we love the dog.
And the post has been today, and other mail order clothes companies are available, but one of them is Bowden, and Bowden put this through the door. which is a pink piece of card, and it says "Bored with mince pies and Mariah on repeat. Shop with up to 50% off instead." And you can tell it's Bowden because of the colours, etc. And that's quite funny. Which that took someone all of 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
if that was you, well done.
It was me, yeah. I was like, oh, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, but at what point do what do some companies miss in that sort of middle size period where and what are the biggest mistakes that they make? Because one of the things that I think they do is that they just put out effectively advertorial content.
Yes, absolutely. They just say, like, are you this type of person? We do this. Like, right. Okay, so but why should I come to you? Because there are about 10 other companies who are doing exactly the same thing. You're not showing me you're unique. You're not showing me that you care about me. And then generally they're putting this stuff out and then they're getting absolutely no engagement on it because they're not working on the community. So they're not working with clients who they've worked with previously. So for B2B clients that they've worked with, for B2C, even customers that they've worked with previously. If you want to get that client retention, then it's not just your personal brand that's going to do that, because I'm talking about, so when you are a freelancer, just like me working on my own, I utilize my company page, but I do that because I preach about company pages. It would be a bit mean of me to be like, well, you should be doing it, but I'm not going to. So I do it just to show essentially how it should be done. So if you want to see how it should be done, go on my company page. But I'm talking about teams, small teams. So they potentially have between 2 and 5 people, 15, 20, them smaller organizations that don't generally have a marketing team, or they may have a head of marketing, but not particularly social media specific. And they're just, like you say, throwing out that advert. Can't even get the word out. Advertisement. Yes, that's it. And it's just like, you're not getting anything. Focus on your past clients. Focus on the leads that you've got right now. The whole team should be collaborating. Who are you speaking to right now? It doesn't even have to be people on LinkedIn. People who are clicking on your emails, find them on LinkedIn. So all the aspects of marketing, they all go in together, and your company page can literally jump on them as well, can nurture them as well. So personal brands, yes, might get the sale and they might help you, but your company page can also back that up and be additional support to that as well. And people are just completely missing a trick with it.
So we get a lot of people listen, stroke watch this, who are within the well-being space, and in particular, because it's called Wow Ergonomics, very small, wow big, that sell products or services that help people in terms of well-being, right?
Yeah.
You must have seen stuff like that across the interweb as you've gone, and you've probably seen some of that on LinkedIn as well. Are there any specifics that you've seen within that where you think that just doesn't work, or can you give any tips to people within that kind of arena in terms of what they should be doing or what sort of stories they should be telling?
Yeah, so for me, for B2C particularly, it's focusing really on the case studies as well, because I know B2B really do that. They really hone on that A to B transformation, but B2C, especially when you're going more, when you have a lower ticket product, so you're going more for quantity over quality, or you go for the quality within the quantity, is how I like to say it. They don't actually focus on, like, the people that they've worked with, what position were they in before they came to you? So what was it? Because you're selling, what they're saying is they're focusing so much on the benefits and the outcome, which is great, but you're not appealing to you're appealing to people who know that they've got a problem, but there are so many people out there who do not know that they've got a problem, and it is so hard sometimes to convince those people, and sometimes it's a lot easier to just go straight in. The people who know it, they're going to buy it, but you need to be nurturing those other people as well who don't necessarily know that they've got the problem, and that's what I've seen continually, and it goes across the board. There's such a lack of problem awareness, and actually on my company page, so every Monday I put out a content prompt that I take from reading the tarot. So I'll pull a tarot every Monday, and then I will give a prompt based upon that. And when I did that, I've just started doing that, and the first 3 cards were all from the Swords deck, which is very related to problems and troubles and problem awareness. So all of my content prompts at the minute are sort of around focus on the problems not only of your clients or your customers, but also the problems that you've had within the business, because every business has challenges. And if you want to get that more human connection, that more personal touch onto your company page, into the corporate space, focus on the challenges in your business and how you've overcome them, and how actually, if you've had a product or whatever it is that's sort of flopped or not done so well, talk about it and explain where you've gone, what direction you've taken, and why you've taken that. And always think about the audience and who it is who is going to be reading that, because that will appeal to them.
Okay, so we've got Barry, who's a regular listener to the show, has his own podcast as well. He says it's a massive problem within ergonomics. We struggle to describe why it should be used to people who don't already use it already. By the way, can you just move your microphone a little bit forward?
Oh, yeah. Is that better?
Well, it's just that you're getting a bit of pop, which is probably because it's too near your mouth. There we go, and we'll just make it better by moving it away slightly. So yeah, I mean, so I think he's right. I mean, we've talked about this several times on this show, but it's like there's a lot of people out there who don't understand that, because actually the majority sale for ergonomics should be preventative.
Yeah.
So it should be you don't actually have a physical problem at the moment, but you will end up with a physical problem if you don't buy into this, right?
Absolutely.
And therefore, because if someone's at the point of pain, then they start looking for solutions, and what you then end up with is a completely reactive market. You get people that are like, oh, now I've got backache, what can I do to sort my back? Where can I go? Let's start looking around. But actually trying to get people to think, okay, maybe I'm 22 now and I'm sat working in front of a computer all day long, but I feel all right. I go out and play football. I'm enjoying a good social life with my friends or whatever. Nothing's going to happen to me. But actually, further along the line, suddenly, they get to 34 and they're acting like they're 64, and they're like, oh my word, can't get out of bed in the morning, because they haven't understood that there's a correlation between what they're doing on a daily basis and a long-term problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you start getting that message? We've talked to so many people about this, but it's always good to get new eyes on it. How do you start getting that message across?
I think the first thing to do is to actually speak to people. And I know in B2C that there isn't, the testimonials are just something that maybe goes on to like Trust Advisor. I'm not even sure if it's called Trust Advisor. I might have just made that up in my head, but hopefully yeah. I don't use them, obviously. But what they do is, so they normally have their testimonials on there, but they're just like a very simple sort of testimonial that is, particularly when it's for a product, it's just sort of left a few little sentences, and it'll just be like, this product is really good, it did this for me, which is great. But I'm like, no, you need the meat, you need the detail. So actually, if somebody is prepared to leave a review, they're going to speak to you. So how about you just have a 5-minute call with them, or have someone in your team who's going to have a 5-minute call with them, maybe record it if you can, and just talk to that person. What was the problem before? What did you see? What was happening before that made you get this? But then also look at statistics as well. And that's so easy, because all you have to do is go onto Google. You can even go onto ChatGPT, any of the AI stuff now. and just get the statistics. Like, how many people suffer from back problems? And yes, in marketing, sometimes it can seem like you're maybe lying, but you're not lying, because there are multiple things. It won't just be the way you sit that will impact on your back problems. We know it's not. It's a multitude of things. But what you can do is really capitalize on the fact that actually they do play a big, massive part in it, and use that, because then people will actually start to see it and they'll go, oh my God, I do that. So for me, for example, I always sit with my legs crossed and I always sit on my knees. And my partner is constantly saying to me, stop doing that, stop doing that, stop doing that. But because it's just him saying it to me, if I was having a company that was coming up in my face saying that all the time, I'd probably stop. Or I'd probably look in a way to do it a bit differently. So it's a little bit like that whole like vitamin and the painkiller solution. You actually have to be both things, because you are almost that vitamin to the person who is 27 like me, who sits on their knees and thinks it's going to be fine, because I don't need that painkiller right now, but I need the vitamin. So you need to be the vitamin and the painkiller. You don't need to just be the painkiller. You need to be both.
Okay, I'm gonna take that. It's a great example, the sitting on your legs thing, and I'm going to take that as an example, and I'm going to run with it, because actually that gives us quite an interesting scenario, because it's something I've come up against quite a lot, right? And one of the problems with reacting to it by saying, well, why are you doing that? Sorry, one of the problems by reacting to it and saying, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right. That's wrong. So a lot of people will say, well, yeah, but that's comfortable.
Yes.
I actually enjoy sitting like that. It's more comfortable for me. And this is where I'm going to say, I agree with what you're saying, but I think we have to go the next step as well, because actually I think what you have to do is you have to ask more questions.
Yes.
And you have to get the person, and ultimately we should come to those questions without judgment, is in my view, so that actually what we do is we get to understand why that action's there.
Yes.
So, because in a way, what the best way for me, I think, of anyone selling these days is to educate, but that education starts with great communication. So I think you're right. I think that's a really great idea, and if you're listening, folks, if you are you are running one of these companies that are selling these kind of products, if you are getting kind of trust pilots or anything like that, why not contact some of those people and say, yeah, thanks, you said this was great as a service, but let's go a bit further. But I would actually probably start with, once you hear the story, asking more questions.
Yes.
And getting more wise. And if if I was coming to assess you today, which I spent 20 odd years doing, and you said to me, I sit on my knees, I wouldn't start by saying, well, don't. Right?
Yes.
Because actually that would probably get your back up. Not that your back's going to be up because you're sitting on your knees, but what I would do is I'd say, why'd you do it?
Yeah. Yes.
And I'll ask you that now. Why'd you do it?
Do you know what? It's really funny that you say that. You should say that, because I was just reading Stephen Bartlett's newest book. That's funny actually, because you've mentioned him. And he says in there a lot about not starting by saying you're wrong, don't do that. Actually, just agree with them and find out. Just ask the question, just why. We are sort of programmed in this society, and I have been like it as well. Don't question things. When you go through the education system, don't question things. What they tell you in that book is gospel. That's why my kids don't go to school. Part of the reason anyway. So just asking simple questions. It's not being intrusive, and I think we can feel a lot of the time that it is. So for me, for example, now I was reading this the other day. I don't know what logic there is behind it, because I haven't looked into it, but I was reading from a girl who has got ADHD. She's the same age as me, and she was saying that she had gone to the hospital and she was there for a long time, and she had got into a position that felt comfortable for her. Now that position was sitting with cross-legged. Now I know that when I sit on my knees, that just makes me feel safe. It makes me feel like I'm in a safe environment. It makes me like that's just comfortable for me. If I'm standing up, like if I stand up for more than 2 minutes, I'll start moving around, I'll get bored, I'll start fiddling with my hands, do my hair. Where I'm like that, I'll just sit and relax. So whether there is logic behind it, where a neurodiversity or a disability, a learning difficulty, anything like that is behind it, I don't know the ins and outs, so I could be completely talking out of turn. But my genuine belief is that they would be related in some way because it's a safe position for you to sit in, or it's just something that you've done. It's a little bit like my dad, for example.
You feel kind of like cocooned in your own space, if you like.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
rather than an open posture. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's a lot like about asking the questions, but it's a lot about when you look at them statistics, for example, dig deep into them. So then whoever your target audience is, like you might actually have, if you are targeting elderly people, for example, look at sort of what it is that is the general theme between them. It might not be for all of them, but there might be something that's sticking out, that they have a particular back problem. So really researching into the people, really researching into the statistics, research. Like it's a bit mundane and it can get boring, but research.
I think most of the people that were in this sector are quite happy to deep dive into things. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in such a cerebrally challenging sector in the first place. But if we go back to your example, if I may, and just continue with that a second. So you sit in that position because you feel in a safe space. So my next question line would be, is there anything that you struggle to do in that position from a work perspective? Is there anything you struggle to reach, or is there anything that does it cause you any pain at all, or not necessarily in your back or your legs or whatever, but does it cause you any kind of discomfort?
Yes, I get pins and needles every 5 minutes, so I have to get up and get rid of them. So it's pointless sitting like that anyway.
Well, okay, so now you're beginning to answer your own question.
Yeah.
Or your own. You're beginning to develop the answers yourself, which is actually my legs are going dead. So I understand that this is impacting my circulation. However, it's making me get up and move, which is actually good for me. So then it's about talking about, is there compromise that's available within that, but also, how bad is that? But also, is it impacting your ability to work? Because if you're getting up on a regular basis and having to move away from the desk on a regular basis, is that then stopping you from doing your work? Mm-hmm. And if you then follow that line down, you can then start to come up with particular answers. It might be, and I might be suggesting to someone like you, well, how can you perhaps not work at a desk?
Yeah.
Even doing what you do, are there opportunities to not work at a desk for parts of the day? So, for example, can you use voice dictation and create notes, or actually create content whilst you're not at the desk? Have you thought about the flow of your day? So are you doing too long at the desk on any given occasion, whereas you might be able to mix that up by going, okay, I'm going to produce written based content there where I need to be at the desk, but then I'm going to make sure I stop and I do something like video based content where I'm actually pointing a screen at my face or something.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're starting to get into solutions that match you. Yeah. And all of that comes out with those questioning lines, question after question after question after question. Developing that into a story is the important thing.
Yes.
Because that story may not in its entirety, but elements of it may then resonate with more people. There may be
Yes.
other people out there that sit on their legs.
Absolutely.
I happen to know that there are.
Yeah.
Right. So a whole story around, are you the kind of person that sits on your legs? We've talked to Katie at Social Magic about why she sits on her legs. Suddenly that's great content.
Yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to,
absolutely.
don't sit on your legs. It's bad for your back. It will kill you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
which for a start isn't true. It won't kill you, folks. And secondly, you know, is a little bit too kind of like, we're right, you're wrong.
Yes, absolutely. That's the big thing that I say is, I have a structure to my posts, which is called the Magic Framework. So I follow that, and it's all just about having a mission, an aftermath, making the content grasping in line with you and the business, and the team, the whole bunch of that, and then having a call in. So whether that's a question, or pinpointing to your offer or something like that. But when you write your content, so follow the framework, then go back through the content again. So I go through my content about 5 times before I publish it, just to make sure that it has, so, and I'm not going to be able to quote this now because I just changed one of the words in it. But I have another framework which is called Believe, and it's all about those feeling words, them emotional words. So making your content believable, making it empathetic, making it validating, because nobody wants to read that dictatorial stuff that says, I know best, this is what you should be doing. And very sort of action, like, not action verbs, but basically, this is the right way and you're doing it the wrong way by sitting on your knees, or for example. So following all of that. And this is where I think people can sometimes not do marketing well, because it takes such a long time. And when you're just giving it to another member of your team who might do accounts or who might do the admin, they haven't got time to do what I do. And to do what a lot of creative and marketing people do, having to proofread and draft it and just change simple words that people would go, well, why are you changing that? But it just changes the tone just a little bit when you change up a word in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that. I mean, I had a kind of conversation with someone yesterday, and they sent over like the beginnings of a post, and they'd started this post off with the line, have we really turned into a nation of people with heads buried, right? And continue. So it was a really long line, right?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it's a great post, right? But I said to them, because further down it comes up with this, I said the first line is actually, people keep walking into me. That's the first line of the post, right?
Yeah.
Not this long elongated thing, right? Because you want something, you've got to it's just in structure, but you just need it to be something that, as someone's reading, hits them.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if you say something like, people keep walking into me, you want to know more. You admit it's opening up the dialogues for people to go, well, why? How? What's he on about? Yeah. Whereas if you immediately get into a diatribe of, this, that, or the other, that can close that down. If it's not of interest to you, you just go, all right, this isn't of interest to me, or I don't think this is of interest to me. Whereas it actually might be making a really good point. So structure is really, really fundamentally important. The shape of a post, the shape of words is just as important as the words themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you before you go, because this is important. You say you work in a caravan. So, yeah. Why, for a start?
Well, I actually posted about this yesterday or the day before. When people used to ask me that question, I used to say, like, it's because we wanted to sort of escape from the city. We wanted to start again. Like, when we actually left, so we left in 2021. Yeah, 2021. When we left, we were like, oh, well, we've never seen the country. We'll go somewhere. We'll travel around and we'll find where we want to go. And then we'll just basically go back to our normal lives. We'll get a job. And then we came away, and I can't tell you how much I changed as a person. My confidence grew, and I was like, I just literally felt like I was like free. Like I'd just been like nobody mattered anymore. Probably helped that I didn't speak to a lot of the people who I lived around anyway. And I got myself out of very sort of toxic environments that they weren't horrible people. But yeah, it was just I didn't really understand myself. And as the journey went on, I was like, wow, okay, now I sort of get me. I've diagnosed myself with ADHD. And I'm like, okay, I know what my problem was. My problem has always been my self-belief. I know exactly what events. I'm very sort of intuitive, really into the universe and magic and spirituality and all of that good stuff. And I've just enabled myself to sort of embrace it all. And now I'm like, I left because people didn't understand me. Yes, there's part of me that wanted to get out. I didn't want the kids to go to school. I didn't want to be in the middle of the city because that's where we were. We lived in Coventry, if anyone knows of it, the worst place in the world. Sorry if anyone from Coventry is listening to this. Yeah, and so that was really it. And then I was just like, oh my God, I understand myself. I can now sort of talk to other people about how I feel. And it really takes you out of everything I'd loved caravans my whole life anyway. We'd caravanned every year. So caravans were a big thing for me. When we bought ours, it was originally to go holiday, go for weekends away. And then it just ended up sat on our drive for like a year because of lockdowns. And we were like, should we just sell the house and move into it?
Yeah.
And
so it does
now here we are.
It does, and I'm assuming it does working in a caravan cause any particular problems in terms of working and sort of ergonomics?
Definitely. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable sometimes. Now it's better because we have our tourer, which we go away in sometimes. But we're generally now in our static caravan. So everything here is a little bit more like I have a desk. So everything's a bit more sort of routine in here, and I have space and stuff. I have literally, and anyone with ADHD will probably understand, I have about 500 notebooks, all for different things, just spread around. So I have my space for all of that stuff now. But in the touring caravan, it was hard. We'd go to places that have no internet, even though we believe that they had internet. Like we'd stay for places because of the kids. We'd stay at places for 3 or 4 weeks, so we could sort of find our feet. I mean, I don't know how people do it so quickly. Like when they go to places for a few days and then go on to the next. That we couldn't have done that. Yeah, that was difficult. There was one time where we got to a place and we had no reception, and I mean no service, no 4G, no nothing. And then they went on to tell us that their dogs, they had 2 border collies, and that their dogs sometimes got out and weren't good with kids. And we were like, we leave our kids just like roaming around outside the caravan. So it was 24 hours, and then we had to move on, and we'd lost quite a lot of money because we'd paid and wanted us the money back because we'd been for one night. So they kept, and yeah, so it's very traumatic sometimes, and there's probably more shit times than there is good. But what was so nice about it is the freedom. You are literally, no one knows where you are. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no noise pollution. There's no light pollution. You're just free. And for me and for my brain, I can't begin to explain just how amazing that was. And for the kids as well, we literally would open the caravan door in the morning, they'd run outside, and that was it. They'd come back for food. They'd come back if they were tired. They'd come back if they wanted the iPad. But generally, they would just go. And for me, I sort of like that feral, natural lifestyle. So yeah, it's great in that respect.
Oh, it's interesting hearing about it. So thank you for sharing. What we'd love to do, because you've been on, although we'll need to deliver it somewhere. So you'll need to be at an address in order to deliver it to you.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know
okay. You
how
can send it to my dad's address because I'm actually registered living at my dad's, but I'm obviously not.
Right. So there's a way of doing this. We'd love to get a photograph of the way that you're working at the moment, your current setup. Yeah. And you know, if we can, Backer will send you a bit of kit so that we can try and make you a little bit more comfortable than you are at the moment. It'd be great to have an idea about the way you work. I'm thinking about a particular piece of kit, given the fact you say you do a lot of notes. So you handwrite lots of notes, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. There's potentially something that could help with that.
Okay. Cool.
By elevating your posture when you're working with notes, which would be good because if you think about it, and here's a little tip for all of you people out there. Years ago, desks weren't flat. Right. I'm just going to amaze you all now, but years and years ago, desks weren't flat. In fact, even not that long ago in history, if you think about it, when my dad went to school, desks were still angled. Right?
Oh yeah, because that has made me think when I've been to like museums and places.
And stuff like that. And if you think about it, if you go to a church, for example, the pew that holds your books is actually tilted as well in front of you. If you think about pictures of monks in monasteries, right?
Yeah.
They didn't write at flat desks. They were all pictured like working like this. And that's because, quite simply, you know, if you're producing stuff and writing stuff on something, you shouldn't need to bend all of the way over. You know, you should be able to sit more upright and write. But the reason that you don't is because the surface that you're writing on is flat. And why is that? It's because computers fall off desks if they're not flat. And so with the advent of computer technology, mankind devolved desks into something that suited computers, not men or mankind. And so we ended up with this conundrum. But there are ways of dealing with that by actually putting something on the desk that actually raises you back up again, which is marvelous. And then you feel so much more productive and better and all of those things, especially because your brain gets more oxygen. You know, because if your lung capacity is improved, from sitting like this, you actually breathe better. And this thing up here, rather than thinking, oh, I've got to get some more coffee to keep me awake, actually what it's really saying is I need more oxygen to keep me awake. And that's the truth of it. So don't rely on this stuff. Rely on oxygen. It's a far better pick.
Yes.
There we go. Katie at Social Magic, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us.
Having me.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed that, folks, including the sort of randomness with the dog. And Katie, you did a fantastic job of keeping going when I disappeared to settle the little monster down. He's gone back to sleep again now, completely oblivious to the rest of the world. It is a lovely life. We will be back for the final show of 2023. I can't believe we're coming to the end of the year. With Stephen, we'll be back, and it will be a Christmas jumper episode as well. So we will be wearing Christmas jumpers. I can't decide whether to go for my Marmite Christmas jumper or my elf one. Which one? I mean, when I say the elf one, it actually looks like the jumper that Elf wore.
Oh, okay. Well, last night I watched Gogglebox, and on it was a was a film about nasty elves, like elves that killed people. So I'm
Ooh.
going to say go with Marmite. I had Marmite on toast
Marmite.
for breakfast this morning. So
There you go. You know, and that's the thing. If I wear that, then you can either love it or
or
hate it,
hate it.
and you can
Perfect.
choose. All right, we'll be back next time, same time next week. Please do, if you want to hear previous episodes of this, please do whiz over to wowergonomics.com where you can do that. We've also got the Instagram up and running as well now, so you can look up Wow Ergonomics on the Instagram. Are you? I presume you're on the Instagram?
I have an account. I'm more of a wordy person than visual.
Okay,
So
but do send me over your Instagram and we can link you up and put you on there as well. Take care, folks. Look after yourselves. If you're wrapping presents for Christmas and stuff like that, just think about how you're doing it. Don't hurt your back. Bye for now.